Hey, welcome. It's Captain Matt, Boater's Secret Weapon. I want to thank you for joining us for this Sunday night live. We're getting ready to start here in just a couple of minutes here. We'll start about 8:30, but I wanted to welcome you. If you've never been to a live, here's what you can expect. Just go ahead and chat in your comment section, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube. Just ask your question, leave your comment there, and then as we go through the time, I just kind of scroll down all the comments and I try to answer them. Now, if it's something that I need to ask you a question, I may ask you a question and just put it in the chat again, and I'll come back and I'll get that information so I can give you a more personalized response, something that's going to really add value for you. This is just something I do. One, it's great fun. I really enjoy it. It's helpful for the community, just sharing my knowledge. Now, one thing that you need to know, I don't know everything about boats. I know a lot about boats. I've been a boater since I was 5. I've sold boats. It's something that is a big part of my life. With that said, I don't know everything. Matter of fact, sailboats, have zero experience with sailboats. Bass boats, very little experience there. Bow riders, deck boats, center consoles, jet boats, twin engines, stern drives, outboards, inboards, all of that I have experience with. And if I have an answer, I'll give you my best answer. If I don't have an answer, I'll try to give you a resource that will be valuable for you. If I have an opinion, I'll try to give you that opinion, but let you know this is what I think, not what I absolutely know. So I look forward to it. Here's a little video intro that a subscriber made for me. Thanks, Bo. And we'll see you on the live when it kicks off here in just a moment. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Captain Matt, boat buyers and boaters secret weapon. You can see I've got my my best boat captain shirt on today. These are I was not happy with how these were made, so I'm not selling these right now. But I like the design of it. I just didn't like the shirts and the quality of them. So hopefully I can get these put up for folks that that may want them. So hope you guys are all having a great week. Welcome to the live. Bo, welcome. Good to have you. Hope you had a good time at church this evening and this afternoon. I guess he's up in Washington State. So Ray, welcome from Indiana. Glad to have you. New stint, second Lycra Friday. Get this stuff out of the way. Maybe I'll go. Well, we're all hoping that's exactly how it goes, Ray. I'm glad. It sounds like if you got the new stint in, I assume that, and you're on the live here, I assume that means you're doing well from the first one, and good luck with Friday. We'll be thinking about you. Jerry, welcome. Jerry's been on the last bunch of big handful of lives, so welcome. Annual river fishing trip and the Wiley drift boat coming up. That sounds like a good time. I think that is Bo's uncle in a Willie's drift boat. I think that's his uncle or cousin that had the drift boat. Or no, that was the jet boat that they had. Brian from West Virginia, welcome. One last ride today, putting it up tomorrow. Yeah, it's, you know what, those last runs they're fun. There you get the sweatshirts out. You're just sneaking in all you can. And that means that you've had a good season. That it stinks to put them away, but getting that last run in, getting it all cleaned up, dried up, and ready to go. Eric Baker, welcome. Eric's been on several of the lives as well. Brock, last tournament of the year next Saturday, sitting at second overall, need a win. My buddy Dave to finish last. Well, I hope that you get the W, and I hope that you take first overall. That's awesome. Congratulations, man. Brock is down in Charleston, and he is a bass fisherman and runs a bass boat. I want to say it's a Nitro as well as a 247 Sportsman, which is a center console with a big Yamaha on it. So welcome everybody. We've got football going for the right buddy. I'll follow him around and throw rocks. There you go, Brian. Whatever you got to do, get the somebody mentioned the guy putting the big big heavy sinkers in the walleye in that tournament that was going around and still is the other day. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? But whoever that guy was, I think he was fishing for Ranger, had a Ranger sponsorship. But let's hope you could just win it outright. And if you need, Brian's got your back. Tom, welcome, Tom. Tom's been on a bunch of the lives lately as well. And in the comments, I appreciate that. Appreciate you guys all being part of the channel. Can't wait for next January. Open up the salmon runs and the island camp out. And that is something, Bo, that I would love to do. I've got some people I worked with in the industry that are up in the Washington State area, like Yakima, kind of in that area. And they were telling me about the salmon runs and the fishing and everything that they get to do up there, showing me some pictures and of what their environment looks like. And it is beautiful up there. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. They were trying to explain it to me. They're only like 2 hours from Seattle, but when you go through the mountains, it makes it like 5 hours or something, trying to get to where they are. They're close proximity, but distance wise, traveling in a car, it is a tough place to get. So let's see, what should I share with you? I'll share a couple of things with you. So who is that? You want to come in and say hi? All right. We got a special guest here today, a special guest that has school tomorrow and needs to get her homework finished up.
I already finished it for today.
Okay. Well, say hello to everybody.
Hi.
All right. Say good night to everybody.
Bye.
Right.
I'm allowed to do this because I'm older than my sister.
Yeah, she is the older one. So her bedtime has been extended a little bit. So
because I have school after her.
Yeah. And she gets to get up later. All right. Thank you for stopping by. I love you. So anyway, get out, you knucklehead. Love you. Shut my door, please. So I did. You guys all know that I shot the coastal edition, and that is edited and ready. And I'm calling it an early release. I think we can have it. I think we can have it up for people to get. It's all loaded up in the system. I think we can get the little bit of technology that needs to be done from the order page to there, so I can sign people up. There's several people that that are going to get access. Rhonda, I don't know if Rhonda's on today. She was on last week, but she's going to get it. And for some of you folks that have been in the community, I'll probably reach out, Brock, Bo, for you up in Washington, and some of you other folks that are on the coast. I'm gonna ask if you wouldn't mind to go through it and let me know, hey, this is really good. I wish it would have had this, that, if that could be explained a little bit better. Some of you folks that have signed up for ambassadors that are on the coast, I would really appreciate that. There's several things on my list that I want to add to it, that I want to get done. And anchoring at a sandbar, we didn't get that put in. Maneuvering in currents, there's something I wanted to redo that. I wasn't happy with how that came out. And I also want to do a better job of tying up with tides and having long lines and talking about that. So there's a few things, but I also want to know from you guys, hey, this is something that I wish I would have known, and especially you newer folks, something that would be you just learned, that you maybe learned the hard way. One of the things that I learned, and I actually had just ordered this, it didn't come in time, was this relief band for seasickness. I'm not somebody that goes offshore a bunch, so I was nervous about seasickness, so I bought that. It didn't show up in time, but that's something that's coming out new. And then we also have the new release for the outboard version. That one's done, loaded up and ready, so that will be available. And then the jet boat, wake boat, twin engine will be filmed before November. So I'm getting excited about having kind of the full package of those out. So that's kind of what's been going on my side. let's see if I stalled enough time to get some questions coming in here. Captain Matt, a question. Have you ever had an anchor get snagged, unable to pull it up, had to cut the line, let it go? Happened to my wife and I today on the river. Yeah, I've never had it happen to me, but it happens. It happens. So there's a couple of things that I'll encourage you to do if you ever get in that situation again. So the first one that you want to do, the first thing that you want to try, Jerry, is to go ahead and you've got your anchor rode out like this. So this is, let's get my model out here. So you've got your anchor rode out. You've got a lot of scope out. It's got a nice angle to it. And what you're going to do is you're going to pull the line up and you're going to drive over it to you're about 90 degrees. You're right on top of your anchor. And what you're going to do is then you're going to tie it off on a cleat where you're straight up and down and just idling. You're not going to gun it, but just idling, you're going to drive over it. And what you're working on doing is those flukes are dug in this way. What you're trying to do is just pull them back out. That can get it some of the times. Maybe especially if you're on the river. I don't know that river, but if you've got maybe you got it caught on a big stump that's down there, or a big log that's or a tree that's underwater, or a rock that got you hung up. Sometimes that can get you out. And again, that's the first thing you try. The second thing you try is you kind of do that same thing, but then you do a little circle around the boat, trying to find an angle where it will pull out. The other thing, if that is, man, you've got a lot of debris in the water there and getting stuck on trees, and you can rig up the anchor in a way. Brock talked about it in several months ago. We had a similar question, but what you do, instead of rigging your anchor, you got your flukes, you got your shank, and then you have your shackle and your chain, and you run everything there. What you do is you run your chain down the shaft, and you shackle it to the bottom. Now, some anchors will have a hole down at the bottom, so you can shackle it there. You run it up, and at the very top, what you do is you use like a lightweight but heavy enough to hold it in just regular anchoring. So fishing line, I'm not sure what the right test would be, kind of a cotton strand. Some people use zip ties. Some people say, hey, we got enough plastic in the ocean, let's not put more in it. But something that will hold the anchor, let it do its thing, just doing its normal thing. But if you get stuck in that situation where you can't get your anchor up, you pull over top of it straight up and down, and you give the anchor rod a yank up, and then you break that piece. And now, instead of pulling from the top of the shaft, now you're pulling from that pivot point down here, and it will, not 100% of the time, but it will save your anchor, 8 times out of 10, probably, if not more. And that would be, but you've got to rig it up different. If it's already down there and you're stuck, not much you can do. But those would be my suggestions for you. And it happens. And that's why they came up with that rigging style. Brock, you might, I don't know the name of it, but there's a name for it. But you can do that in the future, especially on the river. You're more likely to get hung up on something down at the bottom. Who knows what it would be? And those are a couple of things that can be helpful for you in those situations. So, same building as I do, joking with him last week, is going to pull the house. That is the good friendly rivalry that is always makes everything a little bit more fun, having a buddy you can talk trash to and mess with. So our tradition is on the evening before the opening, we rough it out on the island to Columbia, take our boats and tackle, get up at dawn and slay them. That is, my wife she's been to Alaska and has done some salmon fishing there. And she said there's you can't go back to eating store-bought or just regular salmon again after you've had a fresh, I don't know if it was sake or what kind she was fishing for up there and ate. but she said you would not believe how amazing it is. So a little bit jealous of that opportunity that you guys get up there. That's why every boating area is, has a little bit something different to add to it. So Ray, good night. Hope you have a good one. And again, good luck with everything on Friday. We'll be thinking about you. Let's see here. Eric, curious if you have any info on two center console brands I'm looking at, Release and Crownline Finseeker. I know Crownline pretty well, but I've only inspected one or two of their Finseeker models, but Release center console, I am not familiar with the Release. I don't think that name's like kind of jogging in memory, but I'm not. Maybe not. Release. No, I've never inspected a Release that I am aware of. So, and I don't. I don't have anything to add on the Release, unfortunately, Eric. But what I can tell you on the Finseeker, let me see. I've got thousands and thousands and thousands of photos that I took at the boat shows. Let me see if I can go to the Charleston show this year. I think that's where I saw them. If it was either Charleston or maybe it was an inland show. Let me see if I can pull some things up that will jog my memory on those, because I believe I put them, or I have them geared up to go in my center console review, which is about 8 months late here. Where are my photos? All right, be patient here. Best boat captain. One of the things I am not good at is organization. Boat shows. There we go. Boat shows. Greenville, Charleston. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to come up with the photos, but they were very much in line. They were very much in line with the center console bow rider and deck boat brand. And they were, I just realized I wasn't on the screen here. I was pulling up the Release, but they're a good mid-tier boat, mid to upper tier. Now they're a freshwater. Here's what I find: when the freshwater boats go to make the saltwater fishing boats, they sometimes miss the mark on the fishing side of things, where it's not as practical for real good fishing. It's great for just the cruising. I don't remember enough in my mind about those Finseekers to remember if the crown lines made the mark. And I'm not the right person to say this boat's decked out perfect for saltwater fishing, because I don't saltwater fish. So even my opinion on that isn't super valuable. But crown line. But I did thought they do. I thought they did a pretty good job on the couple that I inspected. I can't even tell you what models they were, but I thought they were pretty well done. And let's see, Kevin does a pretty good job in the walkarounds. He is I think he's the GM or the president, but he was the back before the employees bought Crownline back in 08, 09. He was the sales manager, and now I think he's the general manager. But I would watch those videos, and I will, Eric, if you shoot me an email, I will look through and see if I can kind of get my memory kind of jogged on those, so that I can give you a little bit more insight into that. But overall, overall, I thought it was a good mid-tier boat. The release, I can't tell you anything about them, unfortunately. Are they a Texas brand? No, they're a Florida brand. Yeah, then I was thinking there was a release that was in Texas. So I don't have anything for you there, unfortunately, man. But shoot me the email at just captain@boatersecretweapon, and I will right there, and I will let you know when I go through my photos, because I need to, now that I've got the coastal version done. That was like my big priority over the past couple of months, is getting that laid out and getting that shot and everything. Now that's done, I'm hoping to get my center console video updated. I inspected probably another 20 brands on that, and the pontoon, I inspected a couple extra brands on that as well, and I need to get that out for everybody. So let's see here. Where are we? Yeah, the zip tie trick is a good one. How about using an anchor ball? Yeah, that's another one that I have not used that, but if you watch the channel, it's a great channel. I love Amanda and um, Gale Force Twins anchor ball. So this is a great video that Emily and Amanda are their names, but they do a great video on the anchor balls and how to use it. And so I recommend you check out this video as well. This is one, if you're putting an anchor out in really, really deep water, this anchor ball is a good one, but it gives you that straight up and down, that 90-degree angle where you can do some different maneuvers to try to free an anchor. But that's a great video. If you're a saltwater boater and you don't watch these two ladies, you really should. They're fantastic. They put together some fun videos. They're very competent captains. I want to say they're both 50-ton captains, and they've got fun personalities. They're people that you would like your daughters to grow up and be like them. So that's a video I would definitely check out. Thank you, Tom, Boater Tom, for sharing that. And Tom's down in Florida, so he might use that setup. I tie my 13-pound anchor with 80-pound monofilament, hold my 24 in current, but you can break it without pulling a cleat out. To call it reef rigging. That's right. I knew there was a name for it. I just couldn't come up with it. So hopefully that's helpful for you, and keeps you from losing another setup like that. Freeing the stuck anchor. We're off the creek in the main river, 20 feet. Kayaker came by, said a lot of snags, stumps at the bottoms. Yeah, it's those things. It's usually the obstructions. If it's mud, if it's it's very seldom going to get stuck on something like that. But if you get stuck on a rock, if you get stuck on a log or a stump or something down there, or you get stuck on some coral or something like that in the saltwater environment, that can hang you up. Slip Neighbor, my marina just took delivery of a Wellcraft Scarab, a pretty sweet boat. Yeah, when it well, the Wellcraft Scarab. So if you're talking the jet boat, I know the jet boats are they're sharp looking, but Scarab 262. I wonder if that's okay. I didn't realize they were calling those Scarab as well, because the Scarab is their jet boat line, and Wellcraft is another one of Benetto's lines. But I didn't realize that they were branding those. I thought I saw, yeah, there's outboards on the back of that. Interesting. I'll have to see what they're doing with that. If they're changing the Scarab brand away from just the jet boats. Obviously they are, because I was not aware that that's the way they were doing it. But that is a sharp looking machine. So it looks like I can't play YouTube videos while I'm doing the streaming. I must not have the bandwidth. So, um, good night, old one was for the eldest. Yes. Yes, that was, she she likes to extend her bedtime any way she can. If she can come and get some airtime on the live, that'll stall an extra 5-10 minutes for her. So sorry, Ray. I thought that was you going to bed after getting on early. So yeah, Eric, you're welcome. Sorry, I don't have more there. Thoughts on Scouts Dorado? I sold Boater Tom. I sold Scouts, and I really like the Dorado. That dual console is. I think it's a great setup for families at the coast that aren't really going to do a lot of offshore fishing, but Scott Scout. But the Scouts, I think they make one of the prettier boats out there, and the Dorado, depending on what exact model you're looking at, whether it's the hardtop or the smaller versions, I think they're just really good looking boats. They're well made. I don't put them in the top tier category because I think there's better built boats, and I haven't run all of the Scouts, but I've heard people say that some of the Scouts are a little bit wetter ride, but again, they look amazing. And the Dorado, you're not going to be out in my opinion, you're probably getting that boat more for cruising and like this video or this picture, just kind of being out with kids, nice and deep, a solid rising riding boat. And they were one of the first ones to go with the not just all white interior. Back when I was in, I think like 2010, 11 is when we started seeing the darker upholstery coming in the different colors. But I really love those boats. I liked it because it was a nice combination for for my area. I was 3 hours from the coast, and they were a great combination of you could be a family lake boater with them, and you could take them to the coast, and you could have a great time there. So, I talk about in my last center console, I go through Scout. There are a couple little, like I said, I don't put them in that top tier because there's a couple things that I've seen them do, and again, I sold them, so I know them pretty well. They change over the time, but they keep a lot of their same DNA. They've had the same ownership group, and they've gone bigger. They've got some bigger boats that are really gorgeous. But when you're talking the under 25, 26, there I put them in that high mid tier. Annapolis Powerboat Show ended this evening, went Friday. Thought the number of new boats being shown was less than yeah, a lot of used boats for sale. Interesting. Center consoles were big. That I was curious with the level of inventory. It's if you watch my latest video where I kind of my market update, it was let's see here. Talking about dealer inventory is starting to build. There's no two ways about it. Across the industry as a whole, there boat prices falling question mark. This video, I talk a lot about, yeah, I can see things. You can see the relief band that I bought, getting the ads from it. But this video, I talk about dealers inventory are starting to build back up. They're not high at all. Matter of fact, they're still low, but they're starting to build, which they haven't for the last 30 months. But to know in the Annapolis market where they've got some big dealers up there and they've got a huge show, to see that they didn't even have the normal inventory that they would bring to that show tells me that we're still in that building up of inventory phase, and demand is still higher than supply. Those lines haven't crossed yet. And the fact that they're filling used boats in is interesting. The fact that the big, I don't know if that's center consoles were big or big center consoles were big, but we're in the industry as a whole, you're seeing a move towards bigger, bigger horsepower, bigger boats, more beam, more stuff on the boats, more electronics, more technology. You're seeing a trend towards all of that, which is, on one hand, it's great because the boats are, let's say, easier to handle, but the boats are more intuitive. On the other side, the boats are way, way more expensive. So, um, it'll be it'll be interesting to see what happens over the in the when the boat shows start in the spring boat shows in January, February, to see if we're seeing the same things. Over the next 3 months, have the manufacturers been able to build enough boats to build inventory levels that the dealers can put on a normal full complete boat show where they bring 20, 30 pieces of inventory to show? Or is it going to be like the last 2 years in like the Annapolis show where, all right, we'll fill in some used boats. We'll put some brokerage boats in here just so that we can have inventory to show. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I think that inventory is going to build, but I also don't think demand is going to just fall off the cliff completely. I think there's still a bunch of people that would love to have a boat that haven't been able to buy one yet. And, you know, in certain segments. Center consoles, especially bigger center consoles, bigger horsepower. Pontoons, especially bigger pontoons and bigger horsepower. And I think wake boats and jet boats are in there. Probably wake boats would be the first one to slow down a little bit at the price point of 250,000 for a 25 footer. That market, if the recession does hit and stock markets are impacted, that market will be compacted a little bit more. So it's going to be a really interesting time. But spoiler alert, I don't see boat prices falling completely. I think there's going to be more room to negotiate. I think you're going to see some manufacturers put some rebates in strategic areas where they're going to say, okay, on these models, on this particular type of boat, aluminum, multi-species boat, some of the smaller stuff, I think you'll see it there. But on the bigger horsepower, I don't think we're there yet. We might get there in the next couple of months, but I just don't think we're there yet. So, had a half knot current flowing down the creek when we anchored. Yeah, that's a good way to get a nice grab, and you just never know. You never know. Gale Force were also D1 track athletes. Yeah, they were Boater Tom. I think they were pole vaulters, if I remember right. And their channel started. I don't know if it was the same time as mine, but when I started to get a little bit more. Oh, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be about. Okay, so they started in 2014, but they've got 13 million views, which is more than double of my channel. And they're educate, explain, and entertain, and they nail it on those because they teach. I like I said, it's somebody that I would love my daughters to grow up and be like those two. I don't know them personally. I've never met them, but the personalities that they portray on their YouTube channel feel very authentic and real. And they do a great job of all of that. So that's a fun channel to watch. If you're not subscribed, definitely do that. And I know they've been doing some TV. They were doing I want to say it was a fishing tournament or something where they were on TV doing some live broadcasting, which I thought was a pretty cool experience. And they also released their own fishing rod. I don't know who they partnered with on that, but I was surprised to see Scarab. Thought those were Go Fast. Yeah, it's the same. Wellcraft, Scarab, all of the Beneteau brands are brands that have been bought and sold and bought and sold, bought and sold. They were owned by Genmar Holdings, Irwin Jacobs, but has since passed away. a bad story. You can research it if you want, but Irwin Jacobs was kind of, he would buy up these brands and the down cycles and then would try to bring them back up. And he had a mixed reviews in the industry. There's a lot of people that didn't like him, kind of the corporate raider tag, and he had some bad blood, but he was a major part of the industry at one time. And but Genmar Holdings went under. And so all these brands that were kind of up and down over the, since the 60s, they've changed, Scarab used to be the go fast boat. Then they changed a little bit, and now they're the jet boat under Beneteau. Wellcraft has been a lot of different things. The bow riders, their center consoles now with Beneteau. Same Chris Crass has been all over the place. I don't think they were a Genmar company, but they've bought and sold. And so, they made some god awful boats at times that, were real stinkers. They made some great boats. They were a great brand. I mean, their wooden boats are still highly sought after. Today, they're building the fiberglass boats that look like the old Chris Craft wooden boats, but they're owned by a different company and a private equity group. Did they sell recently? Chris. Maybe they didn't, but they were or still are owned by a private equity group. And this is driving me crazy. Who owns now? Okay, Winnebago. No, Winnebago didn't buy them. Why am I having such a hard time with this? I apologize. Oh, they did buy them. Okay, so Winnebago did buy them. They bought Bennington, Barletta, and Chris Craft back a while ago, but they were owned by a private equity group previous, and they're the ones that started on the path to the high luxury throwback looks to the old Chris Craft. But but that brand has been, the point of it was the brand's been all over the place because a new ownership group comes in and says, we're going to buy the brands. They may or may not buy the assets of the company, which are the molds. And they may say, okay, we're just going to take the Scarab brand and we're going to make our change to it, but we're just going to use everybody's knowledge of Scarab. I know Scarab, and they're going to tack onto that. And it's happened throughout the industry a bunch. I meant to say Dorados are this week's fetch. It's, hey, you get hooked on something and you go down that rabbit hole of finding them. My dad used to be the plumbing guy on those mid 30-foot Dorados about 2 years ago. Oh, very cool. That's right. I remember you saying your dad was a scout guy. John, sustainability. Thank you. Changing your name. I think we had this conversation a few weeks ago. Another beautiful day on the chain of lakes. Helped a couple boaters who ran out of gas, guessing they wanted to run them dry for the winter. I think we adding marine fuel stable. I think we'll have a few more outings before November 1st deadline. Guess I'm still in. That's what happens. I'm going to move your line there so I can see my face. But yeah, every now and again you'll run into the boater that you have to help out, and it's, you'll find the conflicting information. Should I run it dry, or should I fill it all the way? And those are the two answers. You either want it full or you want it empty. Either the full, you're going to keep the condensation and the water to a minimum, and that's going to keep that at a better situation. If you keep it empty, Well, now your gas isn't going to lose octane and lose its oomph and go bad on you. Those are the two. And then if you leave it full, definitely treat it. So, but yeah, don't run out when you're unless you're right by the dock there and you can get yourself tied back up. So, well, I'm not sure what the November 1st deadline is, unless that's an insurance thing. Because are you down to the chain of lakes? If I remember right, I want to say that's where you are. But I'd be curious to know what that deadline is. Many more new smaller boats at Annapolis, fewer new larger boats, smaller under 30 foot. Yeah, and I think that's because the smaller boat inventory is what they have. Those are the boats that are starting to build up in inventory, whereas the 34s, 35, 55 footers, those are the ones that they're still sold out and they're still waiting on the motors on some of those, and they're not coming in. So that's it. I appreciate you giving us kind of the updates on what's happening on the ground there at the different shows. I have a deposit on a Sportsman 282, considering buying 1 to 2 year old premium builder instead, most because I'm concerned about Sportsman long-term quality resale. If he hasn't, I'm guessing Brock will chime in on this one. Rich, Sportsman is not a boat I would worry about. In the long haul, I think that boat's going to be well enough built. I think anything in that mid tier, if you take care of it and you don't just beat it to death, I think they're going to hold up over the long term. Now, the buying a premium that's a year or two old, I would say that's my preferred. That's me. I don't have the bank account to buy a premium brand new. But if I can buy one that's been gently used, that's where I like to sit. Even for me, even several years used is fine, because I know how to inspect them and I have a comfort level there. Now, that's generally speaking in today's market. As of right now, those 1 to 2 year old premium brands, they're tough to come by, because of everything that I talk about in the my latest video, about the market update. The used market isn't getting slammed with the COVID votes like all of the Facebook experts have predicted, that was going to happen 2 years ago, right after the pandemic. And then, oh, this is the summer, or this is the winter that we're going to see them coming. It's starting to slowly happen, but it can be difficult. Now, if you find one, that's great, but how much of the savings going to be from that 2 year old boat to what you can buy that new Sportsman for with the full warranty? You may find that that's still going to be above the cost of that Sportsman. And like I said, I don't see the long-term quality and resale being an issue. Now, when you go down to the value level, it can happen there a lot faster, a lot easier. But I would say that Sportsman, if you run that boat for 10, 15 years and you flush it and you wash it and you take good care of it, you keep it covered or out of the sun, or at least, wax it and compound it once or twice a year, I think you're going to be very, very happy with it over the long haul. Now, is a contender or a regulator or something like that, are you going to notice a difference? Yeah, if you're going offshore and really, really sloppy stuff, you may notice that it's a little bit more solid under your feet. You'll notice some little things, but are they substantial? Depends what's important to you. There's a cost associated with them, and if the budget allows you to get the Sportsman at that size and that's the size you need, I think you'll be happy. If your budget allows you to go up to that premium and you can find one that's a year or two old and be at the same price, will you be happier? Yes, assuming that those 1 or 2 year olds were well taken care of. That's the one thing that you take the risk on when you do that. You just have to make sure that you inspect them really well and make sure that you've got some detailed history of, hey, they did their oil changes, they did their gear lube, they changed their impeller. You can go through the boat and tell, did they rinse it down? Did they wash it? Did they wax it? Those types of things you can tell with a really good detailed personal inspection. But there's Rich. I wish I could say, oh, this is the right answer, but I don't think there's, especially right now in this season, there's not that gap that you would have seen 4 years ago between the Sportsman and the 1 to 2 year old premium boat builder of the same comparable size equipment and all that. There's not that gap in pricing like there would have been. Right now they're probably equal. Maybe that used boat is even more expensive because the prices of used have been, I mean, there were situations last 6 months ago even where the used boat of something was slightly more expensive than the new boat, because the new boats you couldn't get, and the used boat, if you could find one, there would be people that would be willing to pay to get it now versus waiting another season. So there's still a little bit of that going on, not to that same extent, but just look at the numbers and let that guide you a little bit. There we go. I knew at some point Brock had something to say here. I have a friend with in Charleston that's where they're built. I know there's a ton of Scouts, and there's a ton of Sportsmen there as well. They're both built there. There's actually a bunch of stuff built right in that area. I have a friend with the 1307 Masters, been beat to death. Life here, leaving the Charleston Jetties. Charter captain. Only issues he's had is with the Yamaha. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Is they're built. Yes, there are better built boats out there. No question. But they're built very, very well. And I would expect them to hold up. And that's, a 2013 is a almost 10-year-old boat now. And if he's a charter captain, he's running that thing multiple times a week, and he's going out in some weather that, as a pleasure boater, you may not. He's taking paying clients that have their vacation scheduled around, and as long as it's safe, he's going out there. And those boats get used hard because they also have more people on them typically. It's just not a guy and a buddy going out. He's putting some people on the boat that are fishing it hard. And so all right. You did the show recently with Wayne the Boat Guy. You should do a show with Gail. That's a great idea. I haven't reached out to them. I wonder if they would be interested in doing that. I will. That's a great idea. I'll reach out to them and see if they would be interested in joining me on one of these lives. They definitely have like I said, they've got the bigger audience, and they deserve it for sure. I agree with you on the bigger horsepower. Hell, I'm seriously considering upgrading to the 2024 QX refresh with the 600. I saw it wasn't a Bennington sustainability, but it was, John, it was what was it? Aqua Patio. I saw it at the Charlotte Boat Show, but it was color matched with it wasn't Aqua Patio. I'm almost certain it was an Aqua Patio. I've got the picture somewhere in here, but it had the 600 on it. And man, I mean, that motor is huge. I'm 6'2", and it is several inches higher than me, and it is huge around. I've seen them at multiple shows, but that's the first time I've ever seen one on the pontoon. And the speed, I know the guy that is the general manager of that dealership. It was here in Charlotte, and the boat was passing through to go down to the customers who it was, or the dealer who ordered it, and it wasn't their boat, so they didn't run it. But I bet that thing flew. I think it was a 27 footer too. provided that new motor's reliable, batteries, electric motor in 3 years. 400 for me. Yeah. It's, I have not heard any issues with that 600. It is, the new technology of the transmission and of the lower unit being where the steering happens, and not having the whole outboard steer. I haven't heard any issues with that. Now, I that doesn't mean that that I'm not aware of. There certainly could be, but it seems to be it would be out of its new technology phase, and unless there is a long-term issue with it that is going to pop its head up after 5, 6, 7 years, but there's no indication that that's going to be the case. Okay, there we go. They lower the water level. That happens a lot on the lakes where they drop the. I should have guessed that's what it was going to be. So, on why that November 1st date is critical. So that one 36-gallon tank, added 2 cans of seafoam. It's good. There are 2 different types of seafoam. Seafoam. Oh, seafoam green. That's not what I'm looking for. Seafoam fuel stabilizer. Yeah, it's good. You need something that's going to keep the octane kind of boosted, have some water protection, and so that you're not sucking up as much water. And then also, Ray, is I don't know if you've done this already or not, but you also, anytime that you're adding that fuel additive to the boat, I like to, if you can, add it on the water, and then I like to rock the boat around and then run it for 15, 20 minutes, which again, it's going to stir it up so it gets mixed through all of the gas. But what it's really going to do is that running is going to get it to go through the whole fuel system, all the lines through that engine, and get those additives throughout that entire fuel system. And that's critical. It's not just dumping it in the gas, but it's dumping in the gas, make sure it gets mixed around and stirred up, and then make sure the boat gets run long enough so that all of that fuel additive mixture gets run through the entire system. So that is important. But yeah, seafoam, I think you're in good shape with that. Yeah, and I should have said this as well. I think that the center console market and the tri-tune market, I kind of alluded to it before, but I think those 2 markets are going to hold pretty strong, relative to the other markets. So relative to wake boats, jet boats. I think jet boats will be hit a little bit sooner than wake boats will. Bow riders and deck boats, aluminum fishing boat. You're already seeing that market get hit a little bit. The cruiser market has already been. I mean, that's down from 10 years ago so much that's such a tiny market these days. Sorry, Bo. But the cruisers and the cutting market in the United States anyway is way down. Just the style of boating has changed, and it's more room, bigger day boats. That's what's going on. And so I think the resale value in those markets, I think that is a consumer demand trend. And so the economic trend is going to have its impact, but that consumer demand trend and the bigger horsepower trend, I think, is going to help buoy those segments. I'm not talking about the 16-foot skiff, but the 24, 25. What did you say? 282 is what you were looking at. I think those markets are going to be buoyed pretty good. So, Brock, do you like the Scout boats in general? I really like Scouts. Actually, wanted an XPS. Yeah, those XSFs. They were also in the smaller ones. They were the first ones that I saw anyway to put the big lounger up on the center console. Usually it was just a little cooler seat that sat right in front of the center console because they didn't want to take up the fishing space. And Scout came in and said, no, we're going to make this XSF and we're going to put a big lounge there. And everybody's taken to that now. So that's, I think that's because there's a lot more families using those boats. And I think that's also why the center console market has kind of expanded into the freshwater and taken the bow rider and deck boat some of their volume. And some of those people that maybe would have bought 10 years ago a bow rider or a deck boat stern drive, a bunch of them went to pontoons, but a group of them are starting to go to the center consoles, the bigger center consoles that you would have never seen 10, 15 years ago. Out of my price range, even the used ones, love the looks. Yeah, the looks of those is I think they're make a very, very pretty boat. Wetter ride them. Yeah, that's something that I've heard from multiple people. But again, the Scout, it's a boat in my mind. I'm sure there's people that fish them like crazy, but the Scout is the boat that you pull up into at the restaurant, you pull up at the sandbar, and you get the heads turning saying, man, look at that one. Look at that boat. That looks sharp. You know, they've got the lines on them. They've got the colors. I mentioned they went with the darker upholsteries and kind of spiced it up. And they were the first that I saw that said, hey, we're going to make a boat that's more family friendly. And we're going to do some things that, without being stereotypical, that the wife is going to like. We're going to do some things that are going to get her to say, yes, we can get that center console, where everybody had always been making, hey, let's make this everything white so we can spray it down when the fish gut gets on it. You know, we've got everything is about fishing deck. Everything is about live wells and bait wells and easy cleanup and just scrubbing it down and putting it away. And Scout came along and said, hey, what if we made a really, really nice boat that you could fish, but look great and is going to appeal to the looks and to the wife and the whole family. So 36-gallon tanks. Okay. I did that one. I'm sort of skipping around. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with Brock there. Almost always empty tank, gas it up, take it out. I always add it to an almost empty tank, gas it up, take it out, and run it for the day. Yeah, getting it good. Getting it through that system is critical. I think I talk about it in my winterization videos. The outboard and the stern drive winterization, I think I talk about making sure it's not just adding the fuel treatment, that you've actually got to run it through the system. So wife gets really fussy when I miss trim or go wrong speed, take away over the bow. Been married 50 year. That works her off. Yeah, I think I showed this or tried to show it last week. Obviously my YouTube's not playing as well as it should. And the live stream, the way I do it, takes up a lot of bandwidth. But we took a wave over the bow. It was it was like a 6+ footer that came over on us. We were on a 30-foot pursuit, so a good solid boat. But yeah, it can get your nerves up a little bit. Boater Tom, if you can, keep that trim up. I think you mentioned that. I missed trim. And keep that nose up. We're putting together, or I've got the coastal training that I mentioned is coming out. And we're doing the early release. That's one of the segments that I need to update. We did a how to go through an inlet, but we also went through an inlet to show, because that's the way I like to do my trainings, is not just talk about it, but then show what I can in the real world situation. So you can got to get a sense for it before you hit the water. Well, we had that wave crash over the bow. One of the cameras ended up in the drink and is at the bottom of the Carolina Beach Inlet, or was, and who knows where it's at now. But one of my cameras is down there with all the footage that we shot of going up to the inlet, talking about how to prepare, how to make your game plan, how to use the chart to know where you're heading, looking for the safe water mark, going through the first part of the inlet, nice calm water, getting into the rougher stuff and on and off the throttle. And then here's what not to do, throttling over it and kind of jumping and slamming down. And then the other one, he said, all right, I'm going to throttle through it and we're going to let it kind of break over the top. Well, we did that and there went all the footage. So I lost 2 camera angles. And so now my footage is just the one angle, which is on the throttles, but you can't see out and you can't see where the waves are coming in and how he's timing the throttle movements, which was disappointing. So that's one that we've got to reshoot because all that footage is gone. Ran for 20 minutes. Yep, you're in good shape. You're in good shape. Lisa, right, with you. She's scared to death of my bass boat. Grew up on a buddy's cabin, being 4 to 6 inches off the water, a bass boat going 80. That's what the Sportsman's for, Brock. That's what the Sportsman's for. All right, I'm back. Lost a poker game and $200. Some kind of tackle equipment do you use? I don't know anything about fishing, Bo. When it comes to fishing, I have no idea. I can get my girls to catch some catfish. We caught a big bass off the dock one year by accident, and I don't know anything about fishing. And I've never fished for the salmon out there. I know it's a different world, and each fishery is a little bit different. And I don't know anything. I don't know anything that would help anybody catch fish other than I can sort of help you make the boat decision so you can get out there and then then I'm out. Put the stabilizer in mine, ran it for about an hour. Yeah, there you go. That's the best thing to do is if you can do that on your last run, this is my last run. You can do it and run it a little bit and then maybe top off the tank so you keep as much air out of there as possible. You're in good shape. I'm a bow high guy. That's the key. That is one of the big keys. All right, so we're here at an hour. Let me do real quickly do my thing. And let's see. We've got if you're buying a boat, grab the Boat Buyers Toolkit. It is a free resource. You can get it at boatbuyerstoolkit.com. I just got my editor said she's sending me back the book, Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon. The book is going to be coming out soon for those that aren't video people that want to read. My editor's sending me the next round of edits, so we're on track to have that done by the first part of December, hopefully. Boat Buyer's Toolkit, or I'm sorry, the Boater's Secret Weapon. No, slow down. Boater Boot Camp. Boater Boot Camp if you're a new boat owner, and there's just a bunch of things that you don't know because you've never been a boat owner. Things like I see it all the time. The picture that says, "Hey, what is this on my boat?" And I go through what a bunch of the stuff is on the boat that's important to know. Talk about the things you need to know. Talk about some navigation stuff you need to know. Talk about some maintenance stuff you need to know. That's a free program. You can get that at boaterbootcamp.com. We also have, if you struggle handling your boat, we've got the best boat captain series. We now have single stern drive, pontoon. The single outboard is ready for new release. That will be, you can't buy it yet, but if you buy any of the other ones, I'll give you that version when it's, they've just got to do a little tech things and it should be ready by Wednesday. I don't know if there will be a sales page up for it yet or not, but you can get it. All you got to do is just email me if you get the stern drive or the pontoon, say, hey, I've got an outboard center console. I'll get you hooked up and I'll take care of it. The jet boat, the wake boat, and the twin engine, they're coming soon. Those are ones that will be shot in the next 30 days or so. If you're a trailer boater, Trailer Like a Pro is awesome. Talked about the early release of the Confident Coastal Boater, talking about tides and talking about currents and talking about inlets and talking about the saltwater environment, talking about apps to use in pre-trip planning, talking about going offshore and ditch bags and how to use the VHF. And we cover a bunch of stuff. It's an early release because it's not perfect yet. It's great, but it's not up to the level I need it to be to say, hey, this is the program. I'm still adding to it. So if you invest in it now, we'll give it to you for a discounted rate. the new stuff will be added, and then you'll get it when it's done. So I'll probably go back out in November maybe and reshoot everything else that we need. And again, if you're a newer boater and you're or if you're on that ambassador list, I'm going to give it to a couple of you guys if you would be willing to help me out and say, this is great. This makes a lot of sense. This wasn't super clear. Maybe you could redo that. And this needs to be added. That's what I'm really looking for. So that I know I can say, hey, this program is awesome. You're going to love it. And you're going to be able to get out there. If you've never boated at the coast, you're going to be able to go. And I've come up with some exercises that I think are going to be, I think they're going to be great because I'm not a confident coastal boater yet. It's something that I hired a captain to teach it. That was my instructor when I was going through my captain's training. And so his expertise, and I had that new mind perspective. So there were questions that were going through my head as we were filming it that made me say, oh, we need to address this. And I think it's going to turn out awesome. It's like 80% of the way there. Tow water sports with confidence is if you're going to do some tubing or wakeboarding or skiing or something like that, and you're all nervous about having the kids in the water, that's great. We're going to do one in the spring where I bring in Captain Sydney to teach. This is how you teach your kids to wakeboard and to ski, so that if you've never done it, the driver has a big impact on it, and the knowing how to coach them, it makes a big thing. If you're buying a boat, the First Time Boat Buyers Academy and the Magic Money Saving Methods is awesome. And again, why I need my program to be awesome is because I've got my money back guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with it, just email me, you get your money back. That's the way I do it. So there we go. That's that. Washington fishing ain't what it used to be. Doesn't want us to have good hatchery. Interesting. I didn't realize that there were issues going on up there. I guess there's everywhere. There's all sorts of on the Atlantic side of things, they are proposing legislation to protect the right whales. Awesome. Protect the right whales. But the proposal was, we're going to put a no wake restriction up to 90 miles offshore, all up and down the entire East Coast from like north of Massachusetts all the way down to Georgia for like 9 months out of the year. And I think there's 400 or 500 right whales left. Now, there's a lot of reasons why they're endangered. The stats seem to say it's not because of pleasure boaters, but that's going to kill the charter industry. The guy like that I was Captain Tim, he's like, all my buddies that run boats that are over 34 foot, they're not going to be able to take a paying client because they can't get to the fishing spot within a day's run. It's just not going to be possible. So I'm all about protecting the environment and protecting the fisheries. But for the pleasure boaters, it's a different world than the commercial guys that are, snatching them up millions at a time. The pleasure guy that's taking one fish out of the water or two fish out of the water per trip needs to be managed different, I think, than the commercial people. And protecting the endangered species for sure, but you have to do it in a reasonable manner, not just a blanket, this is what we're going to do. And 90% of the time, there's going to be no right whales in the path of anybody that's running. So a little sidebar there. Like seeing the sponsored ad on Facebook, hope it brings in a lot more customers. Yeah, it was really, I went up to Ohio and shot that in August, I think. It was a really fun thing to do, to like a real serious video shoot. It's, again, by the time we got it all edited, it was after Labor Day, which kind of stunk because, that's the market went far down. But it's working okay. And I'm excited to have it there. And there's a bunch of other videos that are shot that will be edited and kind of put together in a series of a story of the best boat captain, and that guy is kind of what we called him, the new person that didn't get any training. And it was a fun thing. I appreciate any likes and any shares of that kind of stuff would be greatly appreciated. Anytime you see any of my stuff, even a thumbs up will help. So was growing up, used to go to Vancouver Island, fish kahoo between the island. You see 30 pounders common. Yeah, it's crabbing. That's one thing that I've not done is the crabbing too. That seems like a cool thing to do. And I don't know if there's anybody on here from the Keys and down in South Florida where they do the spiny lobster. They dive for the spiny lobsters down there. That looks like it would be kind of a cool experience. Um, as I just said, we've got to have limits, but I do think we need to do not we again, pleasure boaters I don't think have as much of the impact, but we've got to do something smarter when it comes to the ocean as far as keeping it clean and keeping it from being overfished by and unfortunately we can't control every country out there, and I think that's yeah, that's something that's a bigger problem than I know how to solve, but maybe something that as a community we could come up with some ideas. Um, Praying going night. Well, Ray, happy birthday. If you've already jumped off, happy birthday, and good luck with everything on Friday. That goes well with the procedure, and that next we'll say next May you're back on the water in your Bennington. So yeah, and happy birthday for sure. Yeah, what a great group of guys we got here. That I don't know that anybody has met Ray in person, but he's been the first one on these lives for a long time. And I love when I jump on a little bit late and you guys are already having some conversation back and forth. My wife is too nitpicking when it comes to the few minor issues with the boat. A couple of things I know can simple fix. You paid a lot of money at the top of the line boat. They should fix it. It is an unfortunate mindset of the boating industry that when I first started selling boats in 09, I was shocked at the attitude of my dealership. And I specifically went to my dealership because all the research said these guys are the best of the best. This is who you want to work for. They take care of their customers. They've got good quality brands. They've got a great reputation. The family, I like them. I met the owners. And yet when it came to boats, there were times when they say, hey, that's just boating. That things like that break on a boat and there's nothing we can do about it. That's not under warranty. I was really shocked with that kind of, and as I got more and more involved in the industry and met people from other segments and other dealerships and worked other boat shows and things like that, it's really unfortunate that that's the case. And yet after I was in it a while, there's some of it that's true, that you can use a product the wrong way and it can break because of something the customer did. But I think we're too far as an industry on the side of, oh, that's on you, customer. You fix that. You should take care of that, instead of, hey, let's get you back. Let's get you back on. Let's get you back on the right track. So, and especially, yeah, like you said, when you buy a Q, it's not like you're dropping 25 grand on that. Your wife has a very good point with, we spend that kind of money for the top of the line. This is what we expect. So, awesome. Ray, take care. And good luck. Quite a few Gulfstream charter captains said they will put them out of business. Not only, yeah, you're talking about a 90-mile no wake zone. Think about how long it takes you to go through a quarter mile no wake zone in a spot where you're just sitting there. And you get, and I think it's 34 is the cutoff, But yeah, I didn't even think about that, Brock, is the container ships coming through. And again, yes, we've got to protect what we have in the environment. But geez, we are also trying to live. This is a little bit off topic, but oh gosh, I got to come up with his name. Um, let's see here. All right, there we go. He was just on Mike Rowe, climate and Michael. There we go. Alex Eckstein. It was a very interesting podcast that I listened to. No, that's not it. But there's a not natural resources. Fossil fuel. Now he's got too much stuff on it. I don't think I'll be able to find it. But anyway, he had a guest on talking about, yes, we need to protect the environment, but there's also a certain level of we need to maintain this civilization that we have, and there's got to be better ways to do it than just saying we're cutting everything. We can't use oil, we can't use gas, we have to go all electric, when the reality is we're nowhere near ready to maintain our lifestyle and our modern civilization with just wind and solar and the all that. It was an interesting thing. If you're interested in that type of conversation, his name was Michael something, and he wrote a couple of books. One of them was San Francisco, and the other one about the environment. I don't know why it's escaping me right now, but if that's interesting to you, Mr. Phillips, Mark Phillips, welcome from Austin. He's still down there boating. Matter of fact, my wife is heading down to Austin to visit her cousin next weekend. So they were going there. Her and her aunt are heading down to get up with their cousin that moved down there about a year and a half ago. And so she'll be in your fine city. Glad to have you. Mark has got a Harris pontoon down on Lake Travis. Lake Travis is the one down there, I think. Lake Travis. He's been on the podcast a couple times, and welcome. We screwed up Northwest fishermen. I don't know if it was an agreement with the Columbia Maritime Society or the state. They refunded the hatchery. Only a quarter of the fish were coming out of it. Interesting. Yeah, it's they defunded. I was like, I'm not sure what refunded the hatchery means, but defunded the hatcheries and only a quarter of the fish were coming out of them. Yeah, there's so much policy. There's so much policy that, again, is so far over my head. But it seems to me that some of the wrong people are making the policy, or the input is coming from the wrong people. I'm not a political person. I shouldn't really have an opinion when I don't have an answer, but or I shouldn't have a. Yeah. Anyway, I'm a bit ahead of you in age, but trust that age thing as a boater is better than doing it without one. For sure. For sure. Um, just had the rear speaker blow. We didn't even listen to that loud. Well, I would definitely reach out to your dealer and let them know. I wonder if one of the things that they're going to ask, if it's the outboard speaker on the swim platform, if that's where you have them, they're going to ask you if water got on it. That's a big thing that will cause speaker issues on the boats. And that's the external speakers are awesome when you're at the sandbar, when you're anchored out. But there's really easy to get water in them. And I don't know that they've come up with a perfect waterproof speaker. They're better than they used to be. But I would definitely talk to them about it. It may be a known issue, and they'll hook you up. So hopefully that is the case. I'll tell you next week about an interesting experience I just had between my local Regal dealer, Volvo Pinto, for a warranty claim. Yeah, let me know. I always like to hear stories of This is what I actually experienced in the real world with a real dealer and a real boat, a real manufacturer, and recent. I've got my experience from when I was selling, but shoot, I haven't sold boats since 2014 probably, and getting the real world examples that I can share for people is helpful. Oh, Brian, I'm a former wildlife biologist. I'm all for protecting animals, but far too often they make outlandish suggestions. Yeah, that's kind of my point with the huge no wake restriction for 34-foot plus vessels. And there's only 500 whales. Like, you've got such a huge area. There has to be a smarter way. There has to be a smarter way to protect them, which needs to be done. But it seems like somebody that doesn't quite get it, that doesn't want anything bad to happen. But the reality is, the world's not a perfectly safe place. There's risks to everything, and there has to be. And we can't. Yeah, this is a boating pod, or this is a boating live. It's yeah, it drives me nuts. Yeah, that's right, Mark. You said that. So Mark was in a marina. He's got his boat on a lift in a marina, but they had to move the marina because the lake was so low that the cove that they were in. I want to say that when I talked to him this summer, they had to take a boat out to the docks so that they could be in deep enough water for their boats all to come and go. And so they would have to take a boat from the marina out to the dock, and then from the dock, then they could go out, come back in to the dock, hop on the ferry boat to get back. So hopefully we get some rain here, and or you guys get rain down there. We just got a ton of rain from the hurricane that came up the coast. Had an issue with back kills at a windmill. Suggested net sonar. In the end, the solution was turning the dusk to dawn off so the bugs weren't there for the bugs to eat. Yeah, it's hey, how about let's think about it and come up with a simpler solution. Yeah, a lot of California is the poster child of accept. I didn't want to say that, but yes, Oregon, Washington have become California over the years. Didn't used to be that way. And it's, I saw an article that was posted on, might have been Boat Owners United on Facebook, but it was about a guy making the case of why have we not been talking about making pleasure crafts go electric? All these people are on their boats, that are so inefficient and burning up all these fossil fuels and polluting the waterways. Why aren't we making them go electric so that we can save the environment? And in my mind, like, I did a whole video on boats going electric. And in my mind, I'm like, we are such a tiny, tiny sliver that even if you just took all of the pleasure craft off the lakes, off the waterways everywhere, you're not impacting anything. We're such a small segment. And the way a majority of people run their boats is you run them. You might be out on it for 6 hours, especially inland. You might be out on it for 6 hours, but the engine only runs for an hour. And most of the time you're just putzing along, burning almost no fuel. There's it's crazy. It is crazy. Ray, I thought you were calling it a night. I'm glad you haven't left yet, but I think approach to say the whales could be more on device. Yes, transoms emit a certain frequency that repels, not a speed limit for the entire fleet. That's a great idea. Super Air has an electric. It's 3. Yes, they do. Here's what's interesting. When I was doing my video on the electric motors, when I ran, it was last year about this time, the IBEX event got canceled because of the hurricane that came right through there a couple weeks ago. When you look at the number of electric boats, there were like 300 electric boats sold last year. So the Super Air Nautique, you could buy the 25 Paragon, which is their maxed out for, $200,000 last year, For the electric version of the same boat, 300 grand, limited running time. So they only sold a handful of them, and they sold them to the people I would imagine, I don't know these people that bought the boats, but that want to say, hey, look what I'm doing. I've got an electric boat. And the reality is that there's probably, if you compare actual impact on the earth, boat to boat, is the electric boat maybe more harmful overall when you start looking at, what are you going to do with those batteries when they're done? What did it take to make those batteries? And how are you going to power that? How are you going to get that electricity? Are you going to get that from the wind and solar? Probably not. You're probably still burning coal. Maybe you've got some hydroelectric in certain areas, but it's and yeah, like you said, last 2 hours. All right. Last time I looked at surf boat numbers, they put 100, 200, 300 hours on a year because they are running those boats all day long. If you're going surfing and you got 5 people in the boat, you're going to run that boat for 2 hours and everybody's going to surf once. And then you're done? No, I don't think so. That's not how that segment uses the boat. So it's yeah. I'm all for electric efficiency. Infrastructure just isn't there where it needs to be. Yep. Yep. All right. We're at an hour and a half. I am not the right person to be talking, especially to have the only one with a microphone in this situation. I am not smart enough. I am not educated enough. I am not qualified enough to be going any deeper into this conversation. I have a feeling that most of the 28 people that are still on here would be saying virtually the same thing. News article about the electric car that caught fire after Hurricane Ian, battery got soaked. Car caught fire, hundreds of gallons of water. No, I knew that the battery fires they burn so hot. That's one of the things I talked about in my video is battery fires on a boat. Like, fire on a boat is bad. Battery fire on a boat that can burn underwater, really bad. So I didn't see that particular article, but I've seen similar articles before of cars catching fire just on land. Batteries need 25-year life, weigh half as much. Yes. Yeah, that is for sure. So, all right, guys, we are at an hour and a half. It has been a great time. Everybody, if you would, give a good thought for Ray on Friday, that his procedure all goes well. And I'm sure he would appreciate that. I appreciate everybody being a part of the community, and all those. All right. I saw just a bunch of comments come popping in, but thanks a lot. Have a great week. We'll see you next Sunday. My wife is leaving for Austin on Thursday, so it's just going to be me and my girls Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if I'm having a beer on Sunday, you'll know that we had a little bit of a crazy weekend, but hopefully we have a good time. My daughter's got some dance outings that she's doing. She's dancing at the fall festival, which would be pretty cool. So hopefully we'll have a great time, and we'll see you guys all on Sunday. All right. Take care, everybody.